All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? I got my guy Ham with me, and we're not talking baseball. We're talking NFL. It's Christmas morning here. It's NFL opening Sunday. This is pre-recorded, so hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Drop a comment down below with some of your favorite captains, some of your favorite plays tonight. How you think the game's going to play out there? We do take a look at those and potentially see those for future giveaways in the near future. Ham, I'll bring you in, man. Happy Sunday, brother. What's going on? Looking forward to breaking down this massive divisional rivalry here between the Bills and the Baltimore Ravens in Buffalo. 50.5 is the total. Should be a good one here, man. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. But before the haters say anything, it's a conference rivalry, not a division rivalry. So the haters in the chat, don't say anything. But, man, it's nice. It's a opening weekend. We love that. We love the main slate. Hopefully we make some cheese there. And then, yeah, this game, I mean, you couldn't ask for a much better game than this. Rematch of the playoff game last year. I think that was to go to the AFC Championship back in Buffalo. We know the Ravens, they're going to be hungry, Nades, and everybody thinks that as well. I said it on the Friday baseball show, but this is year 3 doing these showdown slates with you. So can't believe that we're already in year 3. So looking forward to another 17 or 18 games. Didn't do it this year.
Yeah, sorry for the misspeak there. I know a lot of the trolls always come at me anyways in the comments, so nothing new there. We might as well start it off right away, right, with the butt counters and everything like that. I'm not really care. I don't really care too much. As long as there's money to be made and I keep winning money in these DFS streets, I'll leave the haters for the YouTube comments. But, hey, let's break this one down. Should be a really good one here. I kind of have – I don't know if it's a contrarian take or what, but I think the Ravens are going to kind of lay a whooping here on Buffalo. I know Isaiah Likely is going to be out here tonight for the Baltimore Ravens, so it's going to be Mark Andrews and Charlie Kohler manning the tight end position there. Anytime Likely has missed games, Mark Andrews has seen an uptick, obviously, in snap count, target share, everything, air yards, all of the statistics there. But pretty interesting news on the Bills side of things. Tre'Davious White is going to be doubtful here, and Christian Benford is going to be out. Christian Benford is going to play, but Tre'Davious White is going to be likely out in this game, which is pretty big loss to their secondary there. I'll throw it over to you, kind of broad slate overview here before we kind of jump in captains and then talk some flex stuff. What do you kind of see? What's your game script? What are you kind of looking at for this game overall?
Yeah, we have I think a 50.5 point total, right? I think it is the highest of the weekend. So, or one of the highest of the weekend. So there should be a back and forth. We know Lamar, what he can do. We know Derek can bust the 89-yarder like he did last year in the regular season against these Bills. We know Josh Allen is great. So I think it's going to be a back and forth game. But there's also some new faces and new places. Your boy Jair Alexander left Green Bay in the offseason. Now he goes to Baltimore to lock that side of the wide receiver core down. So I'm with you. I do think the Ravens actually win this game. I think they're highly motivated and they're a very good ball club. But outside of Josh Allen, I mean, I don't think the Bills have a whole lot of weapons I'm going to play today. Just two things to note as well. And we'll get into it when we get into defense and kickers. But 2 new kickers for these teams, right? Tyler Bass he's out tonight, so they signed Matt Prater, and then Justin Tucker. No telling what he's doing today, but Tyler Loop makes his debut. I think it's his debut, but Justin Tucker, longtime Ravens kicker, he's gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great breakdown there. Yeah, Tyler Bass is on the IL. Matt Prater has come in. And, yeah, no more Justin Tucker there. It's going to be Tyler Loop season for the Ravens in general. We'll talk about the kickers when we get to the flex position. I don't think it's kicker captain night. personally for myself here. When we jump over to the captain, we look at these price points. It's pretty interesting to see Josh Allen at 16.5, more expensive than Lamar Jackson, but nothing to kind of bat an eye at here. Both these quarterbacks seem pretty underpriced for what their upside displays in general. I know Lamar Jackson is about $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper than what his typical price point is on these primetime showdown standalone games in general. So that's definitely a talking point there. I did a dry run. It's likely going to be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson leading the captain charge, by no surprise there. So pretty much anyone else outside of those two, you're going to get some leverage over the top. I think guys like Derrick Henry is going to be the next one that gets played the most overall. And then anybody else besides Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, it's going to be kind of a wasteland in terms of ownership from the captain position. So you should be able to get pretty good leverage on guys like James Cook, Zay Flowers, Tupac Shakur, Mark Andrews. Those are some of the guys that I'm looking at there in the captain position. But break it down. What do you see from the captain position overall? If you're going to play Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, how are you going to play them differently? Are you going to do any sort of, if Josh Allen captain, you need this X number of wide receiver, tight end in the flex, things like that. Talk about the captain position overall.
Yeah, captain, I think, is going to be led by the quarterbacks, right? And these two quarterbacks, 1 and 2 in the MVP voting, and they're unique in the sense that they can be the optimal captain and not really have any skill position guys bring them along. They do a lot of running around the goal line, running in general, so they do that. They also spread it around to numerous targets, so you may see that again tonight. So if you wanted to get different and do, say, maybe a quarterback captain and one skill guy or even no skill guys and maybe their kicker or something like that, I think that's viable with these two guys. And then some more captains. I think Derrick Henry's going to go overlooked, and I get it, right? Like he's got Lamar to deal with, to take away, what call it 50 to 70 rushing yards and some goal line carries. But the big dog can certainly eat against this Bills team. So I think he'll go a little less under-owned. And then outside of that, Nades, it's going to be tough for me to find anybody else that I like a captain. I mean, these Bills running backs, I know they just signed James Cook to a big contract, but they're not afraid to throw in Ray Davis or Johnson to get carries. So to me, it's Allen, it's Jackson, it's the big dog, like a distant third for me. And then I'm with you, like no captain kicker, captain defense, anything crazy like that. So I'm really focusing on those top three guys, and I think they're going to be focused on by everybody as well.
Yeah, no, definitely there. For me overall, I'm going to be underweight. I'm not going to play any Derrick Henry up top. I'm just going to take a leverage approach there. I'm going pretty much all in on Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar is going to take a big step this year. He's a fantasy, always has a ton of fantasy goodness in him. So for me, I'm picking one of the two. I'm going Lamar Jackson over Derrick Henry here. So I'm probably not going to play any Derrick Henry tonight in the captain position there. I'll talk about James Cook. I know you, obviously I'm in on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I put Lamar over Josh Allen, which is no surprise there. It's going to be probably the more popular take, but that's okay. Because I'll have more ownership to be able to go to Lamar when I'm not playing Henry up there. I think James Cook is kind of interesting up in the captain position for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's going to be direct leverage off of Josh Allen captain, right? Maybe it's James Cook that scores outside of the 10-yard line. I mean, you're kind of looking at James Cook to score outside of the red zone, right? Because they bring in the Ray Davises and the Ty Johnsons and all of that crap still on the Buffalo side. But James Cook, super explosive, has shown a ceiling. He's got a nice price point at 13.8, and it leverages Josh Allen, like I said, and also Derrick Henry, right? If James Cook is getting going on the ground and doing his thing, which can definitely happen. We just saw it, right, with Javonte Williams, direct pivot off of the quarterbacks in that game. I think James Cook is very similar to there. Direct pivot off of Josh Allen, direct pivot off of Derrick Henry, who all are going to be much higher owned there because, again, it flips the game script in general. If James Cook is doing his thing, it's likely that Derrick Henry is not going to be super involved there, and we might see some work from the Justice Hill, right? Pass catching back there for the Ravens, and more on the pass catching is kind of how I'm looking at it there. So in James Cook, I think he's a good leverage play at the captain position overall. I think that's pretty nice. And then Zay Flowers. I'm in on this Baltimore passing game. If I'm under on Derrick Henry, I'm going to be over on the passing attack from the Baltimore Ravens. So I like Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. So for me, it's Josh Allen, Lamar, James Cook, Flowers, and Andrews are kind of the main captains that I'm looking at over there. I think you could play Shakir in general, but I really want to focus on Allen and Cook from the Bills, Lamar, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews from the Ravens side. Any additional takes from the captain position from you?
Yeah, I don't think so. One thing I'll note, though, real quick is, and I know this is a completely different season, but last year, game one of the season, it was Isaiah Likely who had like 150 yards and a bunch of catches, and obviously he's out, so it's not going to be him. But I do think that the Ravens could get somebody like a random receiver, Zay Flowers, you alluded to. It's always tough to play their receivers. But, with Trey White missing, like, does a Rashad Bateman do something? He could do like 4 catches, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, something crazy like that, going up against Jamarcus Ingram, who's the backup for Trey White. So I think if you're playing in a large field, something like that, you may want to get crazy. But for me, like I said earlier, it's mainly the big boys up top.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. When we jump over to the flex, a lot of the same kind of stuff is going to apply here in general. Again, quarterbacks underpriced for what their roles and their upside and everything. Seeing them at 10-8 and 11K, it's a little absurd. DraftKings likes to do the old soft pricing in week 1, right, to make everyone feel like they're building all-star teams, right? Everything looks good on paper, and then they're like, oh, I can play this, I can play that. Next thing you know, they're depositing more, and DraftKings is making more and more money. So obviously good move on DraftKings there. But from a DFS perspective here, quarterbacks pretty cheap in general. Then you got the running backs, obviously. And then it drops off a cliff. These wide receiver ones, you got Zay Flowers at 8,200, Shakir at 7,600. We're used to seeing like I said, right, the CeeDee Lambs and that of the Thursday night game. They were 10-8, 11K themselves for that. You're dropping way off the cliff for the wide receiver ones in both of these respective offenses. And then you got obviously Andrews, Keon Coleman, Bateman down at 5,800. Talk about this flex position. What are you looking at here? Anything stand out to you overall from a roster construction standpoint or overweight, underweight type approach? I know we don't have ownership in here yet, recording this Sunday morning overall, but we should have a pretty good idea of what the ownership is going to shake out just based on these price points alone.
Yeah, you said it. Your boy Tupac should have a nice night, right? He's kind of the de facto go-to guy, right? Working out of the slot. They do a lot of slip screens to him. 94 catches last year. I think he's Josh Allen's main target. But I talked about it earlier. There's just so many options to choose from. Keon Coleman, specimen, but he didn't really show up last year. Interested to hear your take on Keon Coleman. I'll probably be under. But once again, I'll put him in that Rashad Bateman category where he could just go off. He has the skills. He just hasn't done it yet. Now his sophomore season. I guess kind of one name that I'll mention as well for the Bills is Joshua Palmer, Canadian. So, Tambo is going to captain him in every team he has. Joshua Palmer coming over from the Chargers. And maybe it's a Hard Knocks bias, but I feel like Allen was throwing to him a bunch in Hard Knocks. He's proven from San Diego or LA, whatever you want to call him. Now he kind of gets his elevated to a starter's role here in Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and has a good first game, only 5,400. I like that price. With no basically tight end too. Mark Andrews started the season slow, but should be elevated now with no Likely. So I like Andrews, and then I like Bateman a little bit too, Nades, just because that CB2, that cornerback 2 is out. So I don't hate Bateman either at only 5,800.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. Couple things else I'll add there. Keon Coleman, the reason I'm going to be interested in Keon Coleman is if you look at his price point, he's sandwiched between guys like Shakir, Andrews, Bateman, and Kincaid, who I think all command more ownership there. You see his projection right around in the low 9s, right, which is lower than Bateman, lower than Kincaid for more expensive price, and quite a bit lower than guys like Mark Andrews and Shakir there. I'm not too worried about projections in a one-game sample, right? We're just playing tonight. We're playing tonight, right? We just saw guys like Jahan Dotson outscore Devontae Smith and AJ Brown Thursday night opening game in general, right? All it takes is one catch. Keon Coleman's a big red zone threat in general, right? Kind of a touchdown or bust guy overall, but at 6,600, I'll take a shot on him, especially when I think he gets squeezed between the other 4 guys around him there. So I am interested in Keon Coleman in the flex as a differentiator piece overall. I like Josh Palmer quite a bit here. His reception prop is sitting around 2.5 in general. I like the over on 2.5 there. They went out and got him for a reason. I know Buffalo's wide receiver room was kind of a mess last year in general there. Overall, behind obviously Shakir. And then you got Kincaid there. I'm expecting Kincaid to kind of take another leap this year from last year. It was pretty letdown. It was overall a pretty big letdown last year. So I like Kincaid and Palmer both at 5,400, 5,600 there. I think Bateman's going to pick up more ownership than both of those guys in general there. I do like Bateman, but again, Kincaid, Palmer, I think are interesting plays as well right there in general. In on Mark Andrews, I'm going to be heavily exposed to Mark Andrews. It's a spot where I'm going in on. I think Mark Andrews in the captain is viable tonight. I like him a ton in the flex at 7K there. I expect him to be right there in that Shakir range in terms of ownership, where people want to go. I think Mark Andrews is a really good option here tonight. Let's jump down into this lower tier. Kickers are going to be the talk of Showdown pretty frequently, right? Everyone said kickers were dead at halftime on Thursday night there until they're not, right? Everybody's dead until they're not. These guys can bang 50-yarders in like nobody's business, regardless of who the kicker is pretty much. I know Collinsworth was talking about these new footballs in general, which are anticipated to add 10-ish yards or so onto these the length these kickers can kick in general. Any take on the kickers here? I know Prater is not Tyler Bass by any means there, but Prater, longtime vet, knows how to kick it through the uprights. And then Tyler Loop coming in for the Ravens here. He's no Justin Tucker, but hey, Justin Tucker's season last year, maybe you want Tyler Loop in there over Justin Tucker. Break down this kind of mid-tier range here. What do you see overall?
Yeah, let's start with kickers. And I was surprised that DraftKings put Prater at the same price as Tyler Bass. I don't think they're the same kicker. Obviously, Prater was on the street, so I'm going to be a little lower on Prater. In general, I actually think that, if it's close, the Bills will be more prone to go for it. Like if it's like, 4th and short or something, and they're between like the 25 and 40. I don't think Prater has the leg anymore that Bass does. And then Tyler Loop, coming in for Tucker, same thing. I mean, the Ravens have shown that they're not afraid to go for it. I'm going to be a little lower on these kickers than maybe most. I think it's more of a touchdown game than a 50-yard bomb game. Even Elliott hit like a 50-yard or two on Thursday night, Nades. Like you just talking about those. They can just kick 50-yarders like with ease now. DeAndre Hopkins, the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins, I don't advise playing D-Hop. I'll probably actually X him out of my player pool. I know you're a big Dawson Knox fan, but yeah, no thank you for me. The one name that I would mention is going to be Justice Hill, 3K. I kind of like Justice Hill. Interested to hear your takes on him. Just kind of a change of pace back. They generally gave him 5 or so carries a game last year, and we know he can catch it out of the backfield at 3K. I don't hate Justice Hill, and that's kind of it for me down here in this lower tier.
Yeah, no, I like I'm in on both of these backup running backs, not all of them. I think Justice Hill is a really good play in general if you expect the Buffalo to kind of be leading or to kind of, more of a back and forth type game there in Baltimore to kind of be trailing. I think Justice Hill is a really good play in scripts like that. Obviously, you can get there in other game scripts, but realistically to hit his kind of full ceiling that you want, not that he needs it at 3K there, but because again, he's going to be involved in like the 2-minute offense, things like that. But realistically, to hit his kind of utmost ceiling, you're looking at a Baltimore trailing game script in general. I think Ty Johnson's an interesting play. I think the Baltimore side, the Baltimore game or game plan here in overall, I think Baltimore wins this game in general. I think Buffalo's going to be trailing there. That gives a lot of value to a guy like Ty Johnson at 2,400 there. Also going to be lower owned, in my opinion, than a guy like Justice Hill is because projections are much higher on Justice Hill. almost a 3-point projection higher for a guy like Justice Hill compared to Ty Johnson. Naturally, that's going to drive a lot more ownership going to Justice Hill. And in a game script where I think the Ravens kind of win and handle it fairly easily here against Buffalo, even on the road, a guy like Ty Johnson makes my player pool as a nice value play on the Buffalo side of things there. So I like that. I mean, with you, I prefer Tyler Loop over Matt Prater. He's also cheaper. I do expect more people to click that name as well, but both kickers make it for me. I'm not really playing any of the defense here. Bills at 5K seem way overpriced in general there. Not in on that. Not really interested in the defenses in general. I probably won't get to much defenses, if any, overall. Not just because it's a 50.5 total. You can kind of leverage that both ways, right? Do you put any stake into that, right? People looking at the total 50.5 here, just naturally kind of Xing out the defenses, which is, I think, is going to be the most common build. But again, lots of points. All it takes is one kind of pick six to the house there. But I mean, at these price points, they're kind of expensive in general. Any take on the defenses here in such a high total?
Yeah, to me, these are two of the, I mean, not only premier offenses, but also premier defenses. We got Bosa coming over to Buffalo. I talked about Jair. I mean, the thing, though, with Josh and Lamar, obviously they don't turn the ball over a lot. They don't take a lot of sacks. They can get out of a lot of sacks with their legs. So yeah, I'm with you. I'll probably be lower on the defenses. But once again, if you're playing 10-plus teams, I don't think it's the worst. I know I talk about it all the time. The Super Bowl, 3 years ago, the Chiefs Eagles first Super Bowl, it was like 30-30, right? 30+. And, the Chiefs defense was on the opposite because they had a scoop and score. Jalen still put up, 30+ points on them. So the defenses can still get there, but you would definitely need a pick six, strip sack, something like that in order to get there. I'm going to be lower just because these quarterbacks just aren't turnover or sack prone.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I agree I agree overall in general with that there. Let's talk about these values. Kind of obviously Ty Johnson, Justice Hill, both fit the value train there. Ray Davis might get played a little bit just because, again, Buffalo does weird crap with the running backs, right? They kind of use a 3 running back rotation there. Even if James Cook is crushing, they'll still put in Ray Davis there, Ty Johnson in the goal line in the red zone type thing. But a guy that stands out to me here is Charlie Kolar. Obviously, Isaiah Likely is not going to play in this game. You look at what the Ravens like to do. The Ravens run 12 personnel at like the 5th highest rate in the NFL, at least last season there. It helps when you have Likely and Mark Andrews, but I don't think their offense is going to completely change just because Likely is out. I think Charlie Kolar is going to slide more into the Mark Andrews role. And then Mark Andrews is obviously going to slide into more of the Isaiah Likely role in general. Obviously, his tight end 1 there. But what's your take on Charlie Kolar? 1,600 doesn't really take much. He's going to be lower owned than guys right around him like Ty Johnson, like Justice Hill. I think he's a pretty interesting play in general. Like I said, 12 personnel, all it takes him, slip past the blocker, throw it over, or in the red zone, hit him. And a touchdown goes a long way at 1,600, but he doesn't even need to score at that price point, depending on what it does for your roster when you want to play guys like Josh Allen, Lamar, Derrick Henry up at the top tier where you're going to have to spend a lot of salary, especially if one of those is in the captain position. What do you see in terms of this value, Charlie Kolar and anyone else down here?
Yeah, with Charlie Kolar, it's pretty simple for me. I'm going to go to his name. I'm going to click that little box that says X amount of my player pool because he definitely won't be on the winner. I get it. Likely's out, but no Charlie Kolar for me. Kid just can't do it. Yeah, you had mentioned Ty Dolla $ign earlier, Ty Johnson. He's got too many nose rings and earrings for me. But outside of that, hey, they use him there in Buffalo. The one name that I will mention, he's a dart throw, is going to be Tyrell Shavers. Caught a bomb last year. And if for some reason he slides in, if they get down, Shavers could take the top off of it. But it's something like that's a 150 type play. But I mean, it's tough to get to this this value down here. We didn't touch on Keaton Mitchell. Any love for Keaton coming off the ACL injury that happened 2 years ago? So last year was kind of his rebuilding year, if you will. Anything for Keaton Johnson? We didn't mention him as a kind of another backup running back for the Ravens.
Yeah, no interest in Keaton Mitchell. I'd much rather play Charlie Kolar. We differ there. I think Charlie Kolar is a pretty good play at 1,600, especially in teams like Lamar captain builds or something in regard to that. I think that value in that price point goes a long way. He's definitely going to be involved in this offense. They're not going to go away from 12 personnel like I talked about, and Charlie Kolar fits right into there. He'll be he can catch a ball or two, right? We saw Quentin Johnson, who couldn't catch it all last year, be optimal on Thursday or Friday night there. So I think Charlie Kolar is a pretty interesting play. No Keaton Mitchell. What I'm going to do is your old trick here. I'm going to go right next to Keaton Mitchell's name and hit this little check mark here and take his ass out of my player pool. So that's the first thing I'm going to do there. Any additional kind of breakdown here? Overall, I'm not going to get to 5-1s on any side in terms of roster construction. I don't think personally it's going to be more 4-2, 3-3, which is going to be the chalkier route in general. I just don't see one side kind of owning the other side here. Both of these teams are pretty good in general. I think they play each other fairly close here. I think Baltimore wins by 7 to 10 points or so, which I don't really think a 5-1 is going to get there in general. But any additional takes in regard to kind of roster construction, 3-3, 4-2, 5-1? What are you kind of looking at here?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to go crazy like a Josh Allen captain with 5 Ravens or vice versa, something like that. I think it's viable just because of their legs, but it's not something I'm going to do tonight. I'm not playing 150. So, yeah, for me, it's going to be more 3-3, 4-2. I don't hate a 2-4 for sure, but that would kind of be the extent of where I would go, way off from a captain perspective.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree there. End of the show here. Let's talk a little bit about FanDuel. FanDuel finally got their head out of their and figured out how to take a copy and paste aspect of DraftKings Showdown product and bring it over to theirs, obviously adding the additional roster spot and the 1.5 multiplier on the MVP position. Couple differences that I see on FanDuel that stick out to me. Number one, Keon Coleman. Coleman 6,600 on DraftKings. He's only 4,800 on FanDuel. I think Keon Coleman, I already liked him a decent amount on DraftKings as a differentiation piece. I don't think he was going to get played. Don't think that's going to be the case over on FanDuel, where it is more of a touchdown-dependent site. We do know Keon Coleman is fairly touchdown-dependent. 4,800 on him, I think, is a pretty good price point over on FanDuel there. So talk about him. And then the reverse of that is a guy like Joshua Palmer, right? We both like Joshua Palmer on DraftKings due to his price point being in that value tier. But him being priced over guys like Coleman and Kincaid on FanDuel, I think makes him a pay up to be contrarian kind of take on FanDuel at 7,600 there. Break that down. Any thoughts on FanDuel in particular? I mean, you got Bateman at 8,600, Palmer 7,600, Keon Coleman at 4,800. Those are kind of some of the guys that stand out to me in terms of pricing overall. But what's your kind of take on that in terms of FanDuel?
Yeah, FanDuel, I mean, to me, it's like you elevate the quarterbacks even more. You talked about the pricing difference, right? I mean, if you get a guy that has 10 catches, I mean, that's 5 points right there differential. So to me, those quarterbacks with their legs, you talked about the touchdown. So it's the quarterbacks for me. The only other one that's even viable would be the King, because the King can score 3 touchdowns, keep Lamar out of there, something like that. It's so touchdown dependent. To me, it's only a 3-man race over there. And those 3 guys that I liked on DraftKings only get elevated moving over to FanDuel.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. And then, like I said, Keon Coleman becomes a pretty good value in general. Joshua Palmer is kind of your differentiation piece in general, just because he's more expensive there. And same thing with Bateman. Bateman, 8,600. We both liked him, especially you liked him on DraftKings. 8,600. I don't think anybody's clicking that name on FanDuel at that price point. I think him and Palmer are both kind of the wide receiver differentiation pieces if you got a chalkier build in general, going to guys like that overall. But I think we broke it down pretty good in general. Should be a fun one here to kick off the season, Sunday Night Football. Hopefully your main slate is going good. Tons of contests out there. It's hard to just not hit the enter button left and right on the DraftKings and FanDuel lobbies. Week 1, obviously always fun. Massive prize pools everywhere. We got 300K up top here tonight in the Showdown streets. We got a Millie Maker tomorrow for the Monday Night Football game. We'll have you covered for all of that, including obviously the main slate there. Like I said, hopefully those lineups are going good. Any closing thoughts for the people before we get out of here?
No, I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, hopefully it's a good game. Hopefully we see a SHIPIT Nation logo up there at the top.
No, hopefully we see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. If you're not a member yet, SHIPITNation.com. Join now. There's still time to get in. There's still time to enter into the SHIPIT games like we talked about all season so far here. If I just click this at the top here and pull it up just for everyone here watching this on playback, again, there's still time to get in. $79,267 is what the current prize pool is. It is a free roll. Again, you get ballots for being a member here. It all talks about it here. If you go to SHIPITNation.com/games, breaks it all down here for you. Obviously, you get a ballot each week that you're a member here, rewarding loyalty, right, for sticking by us. All the additional bonus ballots are the time has passed, right? But again, there's still time to get in. You get ballots each week. If you get selected there for one of the 3 games, right, head-to-head versus hoop, you're automatically in the golden SHIPIT to play for the $20,000 cash top prize, plus the Sabre Ultimate membership, which is $4,300 in value. The game 2, which is share a ship, right? You and Tambo will share a Wildcat entry with potential the potential to win $250,000 cash, which you'll get 10% of that. The rest will get donated over into the prize pool to give back at the end. And then obviously the 199 person winner take all to get into the main game at the end of the year. Again, this is a starting point. Hopefully these prizes go up as members and contestants win across the season. But overall, SHIPIT games, again, get in now, SHIPITNation.com/join. You get the entire NFL season for the cheapest all-in rate in the industry and the biggest free roll across the industry. Nothing else has been ever done like it. That's going to do it. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Good luck tonight in those contests. Hopefully you're having a great Sunday main slate. If not, again, there's always more money to be made. Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. We got a next slate next week. We got MLB still on the docket. We got you covered with everything sports, SHIPITNation.com. For Ham, I'm Nades. Good luck tonight in those contests. Hope to see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. We're out of here. Peace.